7 next.
Hi, so I thought I'd tell you a bit about my journey after UWC and how I became a filmmaker. It was a year after UWC that I think I was missing the UWC spirit, so I got involved with the SOAS football team and we organised a football tour to Turkey and Iran. And the Iranian elections happened and there were huge protests, so we went instead through Kurdistan and into Syria and into Lebanon. And during the trip I made a film, which was my first ever film, and it sort of gave me the bug. I realised this is going to go at 20 seconds, so I'm going to have to speed up, or can we stop? So I speak. So anyway, I feel very lucky that I got to do that trip, and that charity that did the football tour now is one of our biggest charities helping disadvantaged kids access education. So it's gone on to be a very positive thing, but as I say, it gave me the interest in sort of creating dramatic work by doing this documentary. The documentary went to our biggest documentary festival, Sheffield Doc Fest, and yeah, it got me going. I was at art school at the time, so I can show the next slide. And I got in contact with this man who was just come out of prison for robbing a Picasso at the age of 69. He was an incredible character. I spent the last 3 years of his life with him. I was actually with him when he died. But I did extensive interviews with him that made up a documentary that won the special mention at the European Film Festival. And I'm going to come back to this later, but I always knew that it would come a point where I'd actually like to tackle this project in a bigger way, which I'm now doing. Should we show the next slide? So this was then, I sort of then started to realise I wanted to make fictional work, and I'd just come out of art school, and so I went about making my first ever fictional short film. We just had the London Riots, and that was, for those who don't know, young people went out looting. It was and it escalated quite quickly to the point where it spread across the whole city. And it came out of a moment where a guy called Mark Duggan, who was a drug dealer, was shot, and I guess it was a reaction to police violence. And after the looting sort of died down, sort of middle-class people, probably like ourselves, went out and swept up the streets in part of London. And it was sort of an image of being a good citizen. And I just felt like it was a tale of sort of two cities or worlds apart, and kind of people not really seeing each other, being very separate. So I kind of wanted to somehow capture that. So I remembered playing football, how quickly things could escalate. And so I did something which was a short film on a football pitch where a football coach, who's a very do-gooder character, or sort of good Samaritan coaching inner city kids, gets into a sort of escalation, tension situation with an older group on the side of the pitch that starts to terrorise him. So anyway, we can show the trailer for it now.
Yeah, we're going to play some football, for sure. All right, here we go. How many got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Today you're going to be just one person with a whole bunch of the
It's
children?
just me today, but I mean, I've been doing this for 2 months or something. The boys know me, so yeah. It's
Boys,
totally
okay.
Okay, Blues kick off, right?
So that film went around the world and won festivals, and I guess mainly got me a scholarship to the National Film and Television School, where I was mentored by David Yates, who's the director of Harry Potter films. And yeah, opened a lot of doors for me. I then carried on doing a feature film, actually, of that character, or a character that's similar to that, of a young female teacher in a school just off Brick Lane in London, who's running a drama class, and her intention is to do good. Again, a sort of slightly self-motivated and self-interested, and so when it gets disrupted, it, anyway, escalates into something. This is to come back to the documentary that I made with Britain's most famous jewel thief. As my graduation film from the National Film and Television School, I sort of started to think about reapproaching that project, and I wanted to sort of do a teaser for a bigger project, so I'm writing it now into a TV series for the company that did The Night Manager. But as a teaser, I took documentary footage and mixed it with fictional sort of reimaginings of his stories. So he famously robbed Sophia Loren in 1960, and he claimed that she put a curse on him. And he was a very fantastical storyteller. So although it's sort of, he did do all these things, there was always a sense of tongue-in-cheek and sort of sleight of hand that he was weaving you into his stories, I guess sort of Big Fish style. So anyway, this is the trailer for my graduation film that, yeah, is now housed with a production company that's both here and in the UK, that we're extending it into a TV series with taking his stories, because he robbed lots of famous movie stars at the time, but also the Shah of Iran, and had a fascinating life as a kind of cat burglar or jewel thief. So,
I'll tell you this little story, probably 50 years ago.
She swore she'd invoke dark goddesses on my nights.
You don't believe me, that, do you?
You'll be plagued by dark goddesses.
Oh, fuck. I'll tell you this little story.
Yeah, since graduating, that's one of my main projects, but off the back of the kind of attention that that got, a kind of coincidental thing happened, which is a huge robbery, Britain's most famous ever, largest ever robbery, took place 2 years ago over Easter weekend, over a long weekend. It took place in Hatton Gardens, which is the main jewellery quarter in London. And there are these huge vaults that are the biggest vaults in London, and they were drilled into over the Easter weekend, and the entire contents was taken. And everyone had speculations that it was a famous sort of ex-army gang and SAS and all kinds of stuff. And it turned out to be all of these men that are in their 70s that had come together for one last job. And naturally, that got the attention of all the big American movie companies and British movie companies, so they got very excited about it. And I was already talking to the producer of the Dallas Buyers Club, who also produced Little Miss Sunshine, about other stuff. And I guess he took a punt on me and paid me my first commission out of film school to write a script, because I had access to these old men from knowing the old man that I'd made my film about. And so they felt that I was an expert on the criminal underworld. So yeah, I've spent a chunk of last year writing that script. I'm very proud of it. I don't think it will get made anytime soon, because there's a huge production happening with the director of Man on Wire and Theory of Everything. But proud of it, and it's got me, well, given me the chance to write a feature script and have that experience. Anyway, should we go to the next clip? I am also was talking about another fictional project that is the producer of the Buena Vista Social Club film. has all the diaries of Graham Greene while he wrote Barman Havana. She was talking about me doing something similar to, as I'd done with Gentleman Thief, but taking the fact that Graham Greene was in Cuba during the revolution and sort of doing a kind of film about Graham Greene's time interspliced with the footage from Barman Havana. And so we were talking about that, and then Fidel Castro died, and she said, do you want to hop on a plane with me and then take a crew out there to film the events around Fidel Castro's mourning? So I don't know who knows what, but what happened was they had a huge event in Havana, in Revolution Square, with 1 million people, and then they took the ashes across the country, back to Santiago de Cuba over 5 days. A huge sort of national mourning of people lining the roads across the whole way, and they were going the reverse direction of the revolution. So I had the great privilege of following the ashes on that trip, and I guess it's kind of a photojournalist type sort of piece. It's not edited or made yet, and this is uncolour graded, but I thought I'd show you a clip of it, just to show kind of another project.
Yo soy Fidel! 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 Yo soy se siente, Fidel está presente, se oye, se siente, Fidel está presente, se oye, se siente, Fidel está presente, se oye, se siente, Fidel está presente, se oye.
Sorry, I think 2 clips got merged there. But anyway, I guess you get this sort of gist. But yeah, I didn't get a chance to edit any of it up, but it's something that I'm working on. Should we go to the next video? And then amongst all of that, I thought I'd just show you the next thing, which is I also made a whole bunch of other short films whilst at film school, and since graduating I've been directing adverts, probably some music videos because it pays the bills, and yeah, keeps things going, so I thought I'd just show a reel and then call it a day. But yeah, thanks for listening to me.
Next up, we have Mars.
What's the verdict? Can you hear me? That'd be no. Yeah. No? Can we hear me? Yes. Okay. So I run my family's shaved ice business in Austin, Texas, and the main reason why I wanted to tell you all about it is because I love what I do. I think it's a lot of fun. It's really hard to say what shaved ice is to people who aren't from the States. And also what I make is something that's really simple. And when I left UWC, as some of you may have also felt, there was this feeling kind of, well, there's supposed to be photos of that. But there's this feeling of pressure that I had to, you know, go to the right school and read the right things and try and save the world. There we go. And that's not what I do. I make happiness in a cup. And I grew up in this business. It's been around for 21 years. We have a store, which is, I think, the next slide. And we have 21 employees right now. And our longest staff member has been with us for 11 years. He's our general manager. That's what the inside of the store looks like. We make everything ourselves. We boil sugar and water to make a simple syrup. We add our flavor to that. We make 72 flavors. We have creamy flavors. We have toppings. We got all sorts of stuff. And make our own big blocks of ice, which is a tenet of the New Orleans style, that there's a pot of simple syrup cooking, just so that way you have an idea. We go through about 24 24,000 pounds of sugar in a season. Don't know what that is in kilograms, sorry. But it's not something that's like saving the world, but it is something that brings a lot of joy to people. It's a food truck that I just bought earlier this year for doing special events and catering. And my parents, growing up with this business, they always said that a snowball can be the difference between somebody having a good day and somebody having a great day. Somebody having a bad day and somebody having a good day. And I thought they were full of shit. Because it's sugar water on the rocks, right? Like that's what it is at its most basic level. That's Kyle, who's been with us for 11 years. An important thing about Kyle that you can't see in this photo, Kyle's deaf. And I really love working with Kyle. And I love having a bunch of staff. Here's the photo. The rest of this is just photos of what I do, basically, make people happy. But I love bringing in a lot of staff that on their first job, they're high schoolers, and they get to work with somebody who's other. And we get to de-otherize deafness. Everyone gets to learn a little bit of sign. Everyone gets to experience a little bit of kind of the discomfort of talking with somebody who speaks a different language and is from a different culture. And that, to me, really means a lot. I will say that one thing I'm exceptionally proud of is that we are the only shaved ice business in Austin to use a 100% biodegradable cup. They cost 5 times more than styrofoam. It was a long uphill slog. That's my cat. Just want to throw that out there. She's really big. It's actually not mine, but my girlfriend and I, we're fostering her for right now, and she's lost weight. Can't see it, but she has. And she's just a big lover named Spot. But anyway, we get to more photos of what I do. I'm sorry I don't have samples, so you're all going to get hungry. But this is our chocolate sauce. We make our own chocolate syrup and pour that on there. It's super thick. It goes in really slowly. But anyway, so we bring in a lot of, we hire a lot of folks on their first job, and they don't know up from down. And that's really fantastic in some ways. Thank you note from somebody that got a gift card from a family member that lived out of the state. So I mailed them a gift card, and then that person mailed it to this little girl that lives somewhere near Austin, and then that person posted on our Facebook this thank you note. So anyway, and I just thought that was super sweet. We bring in a lot of staff for their first job. They don't know up from down. We get to teach them a lot of things about how to be professional. If you're going to work for 4 hours, eat before you come. If you know that you're going to work, sleep before you go to work. And as well, something that I think is super important to me and super relevant as well, I also make frozen custard. So this is frozen custard, and as it's coming out of the machine. But something that's really important to me is that whenever a customer walks up, there's 2 things that are really important. All of our servers have to treat their last customer with the same enthusiasm and respect as they treat their first customer, regardless of what they look like, regardless of what they sound like, regardless of what language they speak. And then also, they don't have to ask them, hi, welcome to Casey's, what can I get you? They say, hey, how's your day going? And to me, that's a super important thing because you get to honor the person that's in front of you. You say, you're a human being, you're here, I want to make sure that you're doing all right, and if you're not, let's check in, and then I'm going to make you something that hopefully makes your day just a little bit better, even if it's only for the 5 minutes that you're eating the thing before it turns into, melted slushy in the summer. I want you to really feel valued. And again, kind of like what I grew up hearing from my mom and dad, I kind of thought that was a little silly. This is a short line. People wait 30 to 45 minutes for what we do. I don't know why. I suspect, though, it's not just because we make a really good product. I suspect it's how we treat people. And like I said, we treat them without respect. And I've had a staff member who worked for me for 1.5 years. Sorry, we're done there. But she said that she came up to me one day and she said, Mars, I get it. You have to put the love in the snowball. And you do. We've all been hugged by Ravi. We've also all been hugged by a bunch of other people. And Ravi's exceptionally good at putting the love in the hug. And we try and be exceptionally good at putting the love in the snowball. So thank you all very much for listening.
Pablo, that's loud. Sorry, Pablo. Can we, Chris? Let's keep the lights on. Actually.
Can we go to the first slide? Okay. So hello everyone. For those that don't know me, I'm Pablo Sandofemia. I am from the class of 07. I'm from Spain. And today today I want to talk to you about three things: what I do and why I do it, and also what's a social enterprise, and try to break some of the myths that are around social entrepreneurship. The next slide. I'm from Spain. I grew up in a low-income family, a single mother family, and when I was 16, my life changed, like many of you. But I was one of those UWC kids that actually had never really, many opportunities before coming here. And one of the things that UWC taught me is that talent is everywhere, opportunities are not. And I was always very interested in, the lack of opportunity there. How do you provide access to opportunity? And, being here in UWC, I was very interested in international development. And after UWC, I took a gap year. I went to India. And one of the things that shocked me the most when I was working in the rural areas of Maharashtra, near Pune, was that there were a lot of projects that were basically broken. Water pumps that after 3 years, funded by the German Development Agency, the Rotary Club, that because they had no sustainability plan, basically they just never continued. And I was always really, really angry about this, and I thought I had a love-hate relationship with international development. I wanted to study development or international affairs, but at the end, because of this anger, I decided that the challenge was not the politics, it was more of the technology. I thought that the solution was technology. So I went to Brown, I studied mechanical engineering, and I was focusing on engineering for development. And after Brown, one of the things that I challenged, I had a lot of challenges with was I participated with Engineers Without Borders, for example, and a lot of the activities of engineers working in developing countries, to me, in many cases, were like volunteerism projects. People that wanted to do good and wanted to go on the ground for spring break, maybe dig a hole in Nicaragua for a week, and then go back to the school thinking that they did something good. I got angry again at engineering and engineering for development. I went to India, and after that, it was when I realized, the next slide, that what I wanted to do was development, so I had to work. And I read this book, The Business Solution to Poverty. I don't know how many of you know Paul Pollack. Paul Pollack, an American psychiatrist in the 70s, he leaves the US, goes to Bangladesh, India, Nepal, and he starts helping farmers how to create small irrigation technologies and how to create micro businesses. And from the 80s until 2004, that Paul Pollack retires, international development enterprises raised 18 million people out of poverty. And having worked at the UN, it was when I realized the top-down approach didn't convince me, and the mechanical engineering approach to, as Pablo, creating products and services for people was not going to be scalable. So it was when I realized, and I shifted from becoming an engineer to becoming an entrepreneur empowered. So these are two pictures that you see here. Here you have New York and Shenzhen. You have a town in Iowa and a town near Dongguan in China. What are the things that are similar to those two? This is actually the curve between micro SMEs, small and medium enterprises, and large companies in high-income regions, cities mainly, and developed countries. Most of the businesses are small and medium enterprises. But in low-income regions, both rural and low-income countries, you have a lot of micro-enterprises and some large enterprises, but you don't have SMEs. And this is what's called in development the visual middle, and this is one of the reasons that countries struggle for economic development. So my goal was how can we push the micro into the SMEs, or how can we make SMEs flourish in places where there are no access? So I created Bridge for Billions in 2013, and under the thesis that the ecosystems of today are not inclusive. We look around from Silicon Valley, extremely developed ecosystem, to Berlin, Bombay, Hanoi. It's always the same problem. The entrepreneurs that have access to resources to launch their business tend to be entrepreneurs that have MBAs, have access to investors, have resources, they have money many times. And entrepreneurs, we all create products and services for people similar to us because we understand their pain points. And therefore, if the ecosystems of today only support entrepreneurs at the 1%, we create products and services for 1% of customers. And if we want to create products and services for billions of people, for the majority, we need to start empowering a very different kind of entrepreneurs that right now doesn't have access. And this is why we created the bridge for the billions. A bridge to help entrepreneurs create products and services for billions. And what we do, I'm going to explain it through the story of David. He was our third entrepreneur. He's from Ghana. He had a business that helps farmers to sell their produce at a higher price, collects the produce, and then sells it all together for a higher price. He applied for incubators, accelerators, different support programs, but they only exist in big cities. They're very hard to get. Some of them are very expensive, $1,000, $2,000. He got in contact with Nicole, the director of an incubator program. She said, I love David's idea, but I only have 5 spots, and I have to take the best. And on top of that, David doesn't have any technology. It's an agricultural enterprise. So he didn't get accepted. Fortunately, David got in touch with Gilles. He's an engineering consultant working out of Buffalo, was really interested in David's enterprise, and they worked through the process in Bridge for Billions for 3 months. And after 3 months of working, David graduated, continued his business, and within a year, David was listed Forbes 30 for Africa. This was when I realized that what we were doing actually was working, and it was me coming from a low-income family. I came home, I came back to Spain after 10 years, and I started the business. I got software developers and bootstrapped for a year. It was extremely challenging. I know some of you actually helped me during this process, so thank you so much. And what we did is, the next one, I'll speed through. This is actually what I was talking about, the problem. And what we wanted to do, like the story of David is just one case, but there are lots of different programs in the world. There are actually around 9,000 incubators. And our goal is to help these programs to become more efficient so that they can support more entrepreneurs. They can go from 5 to 50 or from 10 to 100, which, 10 entrepreneurs a year for a program that spends, $500,000 is actually not efficient at all. And if your organization is not efficient for your mission, you have to question what is really the value you're providing. So what we do is we develop the software. Basically, the organization that uses our software has an admin panel. They can connect their entrepreneurs with their mentors. You can filter them based on different factors, language, skills, time zones, interest. And once you connect them, you give them access to an online workspace with what we call the business creation tools. These are modules that guide you as an entrepreneur in structuring your business plan. It's very visual. And then the mentors, they come from home or from the office and give you feedback on the work that you've done. It takes every 10 days you finish one module. Every time you finish one module, it gets published in your report. So when you finish the 8 modules, you have a report ready to export. The next. It's ready to export as a PDF. And you can take these and share it with investors, with accelerators, even just for yourself. You have structured your business, which is the best thing you need to do in order to gauge the success and actually before spending money, which you hear a lot of unfortunate stories of people that actually start something without really planning. It's been 3.5 years since we started, 2 years of research and development back at Carnegie Mellon, 1 year of go-to-market, and since last year, since I did the crowdfunding, we have incubated 160 entrepreneurs from 22 countries. What the entrepreneurs say is that because it's so structured and it helps you and it guides you step by step, it allows you to put everything you have in your brain on paper, and then you know that week after week there is someone that is coming in and challenging you. And for the mentors, we're basically doing their job, whatever they will do in a physical program, but much easier. They can do it from home, and we're giving them basically all the mental map of the entrepreneur, so that they can say, here I agree, here I think you need to change something. And because the software actually helps entrepreneurs and mentors, we have these organizations that are using our software. We started with Coca-Cola, now Brown, MIT, Accenture are using our software for their own entrepreneurship programs. And this is really the model that pays the bills for us. We are actually in 22 countries. Most of the entrepreneurs from Bridge for Billions, they are in sectors that are discriminated from the ecosystems. Everyone wants ICT, like web apps, phone apps. We have entrepreneurs from education, agriculture, health, and we have 45% women when the average, unfortunately, in most programs doesn't even get to 10%. And I go back to what I was saying earlier, if you want to create product services for the majority, then we need to start empowering founders that don't belong to the 1%. The next. This is the way, the way we make money. This is the B2B model. It's a software as a service. We charge organizations for the use of the software. And then we collaborate, the next. We collaborate with other organizations that cannot afford our service, and we give them the discounts for them to share with their own entrepreneurs for free. Next. And this is the way I see the entrepreneurship life cycle. You have ideation, incubation, acceleration. Most ideas, they fall because sometimes they're not feasible. But the challenge and the bottleneck happens in the incubation phase. Most entrepreneurs don't have access to the resources to go from concept to a viable business plan. And our goal is to lift that and solve the problem of the bottleneck so that we can add more value to the entire ecosystem. The next. Basically, you can go from idea, you will go into an incubator. For those of you that are not familiar with the entrepreneurship stuff, you will go into an incubator to really structure and develop the business, and then into the accelerator once you have that minimum product you can sell, so that then you can grow. I don't know how much more time do I have. No? I'll stop here then.
And we will, we're not leaving until Monday, so this is the reason why we do it now is because then, there's nothing scheduled during dinner tonight, during the banquet, and then there's the party and everything. So hopefully you keep talking to your peers, and if you're interested in anything they're doing. Next up, we have Janta Kumar, 07. Lights on, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me clearly? So what I'd like to talk about today is how we can advance UWC mission using impact investment. I don't intend to provide a silver bullet. What I do hope is show an additional tool we can put in our toolkit as a way to advance the great work we're doing all over the world. I promise there's more slides. So first of all, what is impact investment? Impact investments are investments which seek not just a financial return, but also a positive social environmental impact. These can cross over a whole number of sectors, which I'll be talking about shortly. So essentially, some of these sectors could be health, education, the environment, supporting not-for-profits. And to give you an idea of what is currently in the market, there's $77.4 billion currently flowing into impact investment funds. That was at 2015. I imagine that number's probably gone up about 10% since then. Out of that, $15 billion has been invested so far, meaning there's still a fair amount of capital to be invested into opportunities. These can take a whole number of forms. They can take the form of listed equity, so publicly listed companies, private equity or venture capital, social impact bonds, and debt financing. And these can be used in quite innovative ways and can be used globally, because there's opportunities all around the world. And I'll go through some examples. One of these is a technology we're working with out of Melbourne called Gennaris Neural Systems. It's been developed by Australia's top neurosurgeon, Professor Jeffrey Rosenfeld, and it's a technology to help blind people see again. And it involves putting implants into the visual cortex and having a camera in front of you to help you see, because what the eyes do is they take a visual image and convert it into electrical signal, and this replicates that biomechanically. Another one is Abundant Produce, which came out of Sydney University, and that we listed on the stock exchange last year, because the researchers were struggling to get additional funding. And what they're doing is they're now working with thousands of farmers in Pakistan using naturally bred seed, so it's non-GM, and actually outperformed Monsanto in these areas. And the beauty is the share price has gone up 48% since listing. At the same time, we've increased access and drought mitigation to all these farmers. In private equity, an example is a technology out of MIT we're working with, which uses waves, which may not be clear, but those are waves in the sea that's 50 meters offshore. We're currently doing this in Cape Verde with the African Development Bank, which we're now looking to bring to the Pacific Islands with the Australian Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade. That's an example of a technology where we're replacing diesel desalination plants. So the returns on that are quite significant, 26% plus. Social impact bonds, I think, are particularly interesting and could be a valuable tool for a number of the projects I've heard people work on. They can be in things like healthcare, social services, justice, education. I'll be going through some examples which show how these can actually be applied. And what they involve is basically shifting the risk from government or payers to the private sector. Often the challenge we have when, let's say, a not-for-profit has an innovative idea or public health, they rely on philanthropic funding, which is increasingly getting limited. The resources of government or development agencies, which do have the resources to fund this, on the other hand, are very risk-averse, and therefore can take ages, as Lisa Helen was telling me earlier, to get some of these grants through. What's the innovation here? Social impact bond involves using private sector capital to fund an intervention, whether that's in public health or one of these other areas, to then fund that intervention, and the government, the development agency, or another outcome payer only pays if that intervention works. If it doesn't work, the private sector wears the risk of it. And I'll be showing an example. This is one we're working on, which is the world's first heart failure and stroke prevention bond. And it involves trying to tackle heart failure and stroke. It costs $400 million in Australia per year to treat. In the United States, the cost is $39 billion. That's a 2009 paper, so those numbers have probably gone up since then. Worldwide, we're talking about 23 million people living with the condition. So to understand a bit more about heart failure, there are basically 4 stages. You have stage A, which is where you have risk factors, basically being unhealthy, hereditary risk. Stage B, where you start to have preclinical disease like type 2 diabetes, and overt heart failure, which is stage C and D, where your heart muscle actually starts to remodel